Duclair's got it again. Tries to get by Larkin. Duclair does. Duclair in front. Over to Heponiemi. Score! Heponiemi! His first NHL goal is an overtime winner!
Welcome to Project Panthers, a weekly podcast discussing your Florida Panthers. Now, here's your host, Brunswick.
What a week, what a week, what a week. I am your host, Brunswick. The show is Project Panthers, and what a week it's been in Panthers territory. If you're listening to us, you have found us on YouTube or SoundCloud at Project Panthers. You can follow us on Twitter at Proj Panthers and find us on Instagram at Project Panthers Pod. The Florida Panthers are off to a 5-0-1 start, the first time in franchise history, the best start ever, and it's been a hell of a week for this team. Has it been the best week they've ever performed? I don't know, but the record sure looks that way. After their first two games, they had quite a long layoff going into their third game of the season against Columbus. 7 days to be exact, and, they seemed ready for it because they came to play. But unfortunately, $10 million goalie Sergei Bobrovsky maybe didn't get the memo. 9 minutes and 17 seconds into the first period, the Cats were down 2 goals. And, both goals were a little bit questionable, you could say, in terms of whether or not Bobrovsky could have had them. I personally think that you can't really blame him for either of these goals. The first goal was a weird one. It was a 2-on-1, and the pass deflected off the defenseman and went right through Bobrovsky's legs. And there's not much you can do in that sort of situation. It's a quick play. It's a deflection. It happens. A goal like that is magnified more so when it comes to a goaltender like Bobrovsky, who's been having the struggles he's been having. If your goaltender is performing on the regular to the ability that he is, this isn't the kind of goal that you really think twice about. It happens in hockey. Deflections, odd bounces, they happen in hockey. And speaking of odd bounces, the second goal was also just as unusual. It floated, it actually arced over Bob's shoulder. So I don't think you can really blame him for either of those first 2 goals. The team was tied after 2 periods, despite only holding the Blue Jackets to only 9 shots. So defensively, they're playing great, and Bob's 2 goals that he gave up on 9 shots, again, I think it looks worse on paper for him than it actually was. The problem was, though, in the third period, Bob was up to his old antics again with the glove side issues, and Cam Atkinson came in on a one-on-one play shorthanded and beat him glove side. This was a goal that I think Bob should have had. This was a lot of what we saw last season. I don't think that Bob goes out thinking that he's going to make these kind of mistakes, but it's the kind of mistakes that can happen, and if a goalie lets them get into his head, it can really play on a goaltender's ability to believe in himself, to make that kind of a save. And it's been tough seeing Bobrovsky struggle through this stuff because everyone just wants to see him succeed. So a goal like this is tough to see, and the team felt it as well. They looked deflated after this goal, and somehow the Cats pulled a miracle off, tied the game with 3 seconds left. Hornqvist, after an uninspired third period, honestly, after a truly uninspired third period, the Cats got it done, tied the game up. Hornqvist tipped in a shot and got the game tied. It was pretty impressive to see. I really thought they were dead in the water there, being down 3-2 with what looked like not even going to be a shot on net in the last 10 seconds there. And after an exciting overtime, as it often is, oh, how little did we know how often we'd be saying that this week. We went to a shootout, and once again, Patty Hornqvist got it done. The man delivered. Main takeaways from this game, I thought the PK was solid, 6 for 6 on this night. Great effort. I mean, when your PK goes 6 for 6, there's not much to complain about. They're really keeping you in the game there, despite your mistakes. The top line was dominant and dynamite and dynamic. They are truly a great trio to watch. All 3 of them have great vision on the ice. All 3 of them have good movement. Verhaeghe and Duclair have great speed on the wings, and Barkov is that anchor in the middle that really puts it all together. They're all playmakers that can shoot, and it's it's been really fun to watch through the first chunk of games. They've been really impressive. And Hornqvist. What else can you say about Hornqvist, right? The consummate professional. The guy who gets it done. We hear about it constantly, but this guy is one of the best acquisitions this franchise has ever had. I may be getting ahead of myself, but just look at the impact he's made on this roster and on this franchise, on the culture in the locker room. I've said this before in my last episode. If you watch this guy play hockey, you watch this guy do his work, how do you not get inspired as a fellow teammate? I don't see how it's possible. Game 4 for the Cats was also back in Columbus, and whatever John Tortorella said to his team between Tuesday and Thursday sure worked, because they showed up ready to play, and the Panthers did not look up to the task in the first period. But they came out with some great energy in the second period, despite being down 1-0, and found a late goal in the second period from Carter Verhaeghe for his 4th of the season. It was good to see them bounce back and show a little resilience in the second period after a disappointing start to the first period. But near the end of the game, the energy seemed to fade. Blue Jackets scored on the power play, but rookie Eetu Luostarinen, part of his second of the season to get the Cats even, and managed to squeak out an extra point before losing in the shootout, unfortunately. Chris Driedger continues to be a wall in net. He played another solid game in the loss. He controlled his rebounds. He kept the game in control. It's all about control. He made some timely saves and honestly was near perfect in the shootout if it wasn't for an absolutely disgusting and filthy move from Alex Texier. He poked the puck right between Driedger's legs. Like, it was just something you don't see very often. Very unique move, and takes a lot of confidence to pull something like that off. I thought Anton Stralman had one of his best games, if not the best game of the season. He looks completely rejuvenated as a player. I think he's recovered fully from his sports hernia surgery in 2018, at the end of the 2018-19 season. And you can really see where that rehab has taken him, because he looks right back to where he was. He looks way more engaged on the ice. He's active with the puck. Doesn't shy away from stepping up in the play as much as he did last year. And for a guy whose hockey sense was never questioned, his physical ability has now caught up to his mind for the game again, and it's really been a pleasure to see, because his confidence is radiant out there. He's looked fantastic. It was nice to see them battle back and get a single point in the game. As I said earlier, they are a tenacious bunch, and they have just the right amount of dynamic offense to be able to come back in just about any game, I think. There's a lot of effort that comes from back checking, and that kind of stuff, as I've said before, will win you hockey games. So it's been nice to see a team not give up on themselves and really try the full 60 minutes. And as we saw in the first game against Columbus, that was there, and it was there in this game as well. So another good sign, and hopefully more things to come. Game 5 was in Detroit, Saturday night in the Motor City, and I don't know. They had a 2-game series against the Red Wings. It seemed at times that they were maybe skating in motor oil. Just didn't have their legs under them. Game started with a lot of good energy. They had a lot of chances. They were pestering the Red Wings. Detroit's not the greatest hockey team, you know. They're not meant to be this year. They're not expected to be. They're in a rebuilding phase, restructuring as we call it nowadays, I guess. Cat scored an early goal, got a power play goal. Barkov got some credit from a Detroit own goal, so that was nice for him. But after that, they kind of folded in on themselves, and they did not perform the way they should have in this opening period against a team like Detroit, because the wheels fell off the wagon. Red Wings got 2 goals less than 2 minutes apart, and it was all Red Wings for a good portion of the second half of that period. But somehow the Cats managed to, on that feisty power play of theirs, even it up. Yandel scored with less than a second left on the clock to tie the game up. So it gave the Cats a little bit of motivation going into the second period. The rest of the game was pretty uneventful, though. Detroit definitely played a lot harder than the Cats. Unfortunately, their talent level, I think, just limits them in situations like this because the Panthers were not moving their legs, and the word I kept saying to myself throughout the night was sloppy. I felt that the game was sloppy. Passes weren't connecting. Plays weren't happening. Guys were overskating pucks. It just looked, they just looked a little messy. They looked like they weren't paying attention to the small things enough. But they managed to get a point and squeak into overtime. And there was a little bit of magic in overtime in this game. A little bit of rarity to this game. Two Cats made their debut of the season in this game. Juho Lammikko made his return to the Panthers after spending some time in the Finnish Elite League and the KHL for the last couple of years. And rookie Aleksi Heponiemi made his NHL debut, and boy, was it special. I'm sure you know why I'm mentioning this in overtime and not at the start of the game, because our boy Aleksi got the game winner. Both of these guys were playing really well throughout the game, and I was making sure to watch Heponiemi throughout it because, you know, it's his first game, and you want to pay attention to a new guy and see how he does in his first career NHL game. I think he suffered from a similar ailment that Owen Tippett did in his first game of just maybe overthinking things and feeling a little nervous and kind of shaking the early game jitters off. But as the game progressed, you saw him get more involved and play, fight in corners a little bit more, even throw the body around. And they say he has a small frame. He looks a little bit bigger than the weight that they're touting him at 154. I think he's a little bit more than that, but I can't say for sure. He's got a lot of hockey equipment on. But he sure doesn't play like that because he doesn't shy away from the corners and was mucking it up in the corners and playing a somewhat gritty game. Definitely showing effort and putting his best foot forward. So naturally, Coach Q saw this. Him and Lammikko had a little bit of chemistry. They had some opportunities. They were really the only line skating for the Panthers in the third period in this game. They were really the only ones who looked to care about a result. So I was hoping going into overtime that Coach Q was going to reward them and give them a little bit more ice time and give them a chance to show something in a really tough situation and high pressure situation like overtime. And sure enough, as you heard in the opening of our podcast, Heponiemi scored his first career NHL goal as an overtime winner. I got to give some love to Anthony Duclair on this play, though. He made one hell of a pass, one heck of a play on this one. He outmuscled Dylan Larkin and drove to the net. Hepo had the wherewithal to drive to the net as well. And Duclair made this nice little greasy saucer pass. Just floated it right up in the air. Heponiemi came in, got a piece of it with his stick, just enough of it to get past Grice for the game winner and his first career NHL goal. And he actually joins some really unique company. He is just the fourth player ever in NHL history to score an overtime goal as their first NHL goal in their NHL debut. Funny enough, though, this happened earlier this season. Kirill Kaprizov of the Minnesota Wild scored in his first game of the season this year against the LA Kings. It was the overtime winner, his first career NHL goal. So twice in 1 year. Calgary's Tim Sweeney did it in 1990. And in 1941, the Brooklyn Americans defenseman Nick Knott did it in his first career NHL game. It was great to see. I really loved watching that replay back. We posted it on our Instagram, the video that the Florida Panthers posted of the celebration, and you really saw the joy in the guys on the ice for Heponiemi getting his first goal, especially in that fashion. And as they all said in the post game, he's not going to forget this for the rest of his life. It's going to be a special moment forever for him, and it was really nice to see the team rally around him and show their support for a guy in such a great moment like that. And yeah, it was, despite being a game that they probably shouldn't have won, they managed to get the 2 points. Detroit is not the greatest team, and the Panthers took advantage of that. You're not going to have it every night. You're just not. It's the NHL. It's a long season, even this year with 56 games. It's a long season. So you need to win games like this. You need to get points on nights when you probably shouldn't have gotten points. That's what good teams do. They find a way to win. And the Panthers are finding ways to win. So after this game, their record jumped to 4-0-1. But one of the interesting stats I found was if you removed the first game of the season against the Blackhawks, they've only led for just under 2 periods over the course of the next 4 games. So despite going 3-0-1 over that span, they've only held the lead for 2 of those games, 2 of those periods. 38 minutes and 42 seconds to be exact. So they're getting it done, but that is an interesting stat to consider because the team seems to be playing catch up or getting it done in overtime / shootout, early on in the season at least. Bob also looked much better in this game. He really composed himself after that second goal and managed to shut the door. He even had that incredible toe save late in the third period to preserve the extra point for the Panthers and get them into overtime where they could win it. It was really nice to see. I hope this is a sign of things to come. Historically, Bob has always played Detroit great. Even last year, during a season where he struggled, he had some great numbers against the Detroit Red Wings. So hopefully this can be a confidence booster and a jumping off point for him to continue to play better because the team needs him. They don't just need Drieger to play well. They need Bobrovsky to play well too. So it was nice to see him settle down and really shut the door because the Red Wings came at him at times, big time. They were pushing. The team also needs some more scoring from the bottom 6. At this stage, it was only 4 goals through their first 5 games, and that's from 9 guys who are rotating in and out of the bottom 6 throughout the season. 2 of those goals are Luo Starinen's. One is Vetrano's, and now Heponiemi got the overtime winner. So there's the 4 goals from 9 guys in 5 games. It's not sustainable in terms of success with this lack of depth scoring. Teams will hunker down and figure out how to suppress your top lines and your all-stars. That will happen in games. You will face elite defensemen and elite defensive systems that will shut that down. And those are the games where these guys need to step up. So despite the win, I would like to see some more scoring from the bottom 6 guys. I thought they played a good game, but those chances need to start getting finished a little more often, I feel. Huberdeau continued to struggle, and in this game, he honestly looked disinterested throughout it. It's disappointing to see. Just not skating, not moving his feet, and maybe overthinking plays, just making wrong decisions, hesitating a lot of hesitation on his part. That's a confidence sign for me. And finally, we closed out the week back in the Motor City for Game 2 of the 2-game series between the Panthers and Red Wings. This was another slow start for the Cats. Maybe their worst of the season. At one point, I think shots were like 10-1 or 9-1. The Red Wings came out flying. They looked hungry for a win. Panthers looked disinterested. Didn't seem to care. There was an unfortunate bounce in the neutral zone for Owen Tippett. Tried to glove the puck and dropped it, and Red Wings got a hold of it. Pushed down the ice, and Larkin got it behind the defense and walked in and scored easily. Tough to see a chance like that for Tippett. He's had some struggles early on in the season. Still getting adjusted, and that kind of a play is not really his fault. I can't really blame him for that. Again, just a bit of a fluky play, bounced off his glove, and Red Wings had momentum going towards the Panthers zone, and it just worked in their favor. Cats got caught flat-footed and didn't adjust in time. Drieger had no chance. Larkin's so damn fast. One of the fastest guys in the league, so he's impressive to watch out there when it comes to foot speed. But they came out hard in the second period. Totally different team. I feel like I've repeated this a couple of times on this podcast already. But they came out with urgency and effort. They managed to turn the score around and got 2 goals on the power play, all thanks to Patrick Hornqvist. That's right. Now you'll look at the score sheet and you'll see Aaron Ekblad scored the second goal. And that is correct. He did score the second goal. He blasted it glove side on grease. on Greiss. Did not mean to say Grease. But it's all Hornqvist. It's all the activity in front of the net. Go watch the replay of Ekblad's goal. Hornqvist pops out of the way at the last second. Lets that goal go right in. Greiss did not even see it coming. And Ekblad's got a howitzer on him, so that was really nice to see. As we go through the season, I think regardless of strategy that the Panthers follow, right now their power play is working, and it's working because they are trying to simplify it at times. You will see them overplay the puck. It still happens with a lot of natural playmakers in Barkov and Huberdeau. That will happen. Yandel as well. It'll happen. One too many passes, all that. But right now, the success that they're having is getting the puck to the net and allowing Patrick Hornqvist to go to work. Allowing him to create chaos and problems and get those pucks loose in front of the net for an opportunity like Yandel had the night before or like Hornqvist had tonight. And if you continue that strategy, which is a simple strategy, getting pucks to the net, it's a cliche in hockey, get pucks to the net, but it works for a reason. And a guy like Hornqvist who plays that old school hockey reminds you why it's a cliche and reminds you why get pucks to the net is something that every fan yells at every TV and in every game that they go to. Because that's what works. So it's been nice to see their success, but if they stray away from their strategy of getting pucks to the net on the power play, they will lose that success because they do overpass the puck and they do try to be a little pretty too often. And not every shot goes top cheese and knocks the goalie's water bottle off and it looks sick and bar down. It's not every goal. You got to get those dirty goals, and it's working for them right now, and I hope they don't shy away from that. In third period, they kept up a solid pace, though, but there was a shift in the third where Barkov took over, and I feel like he did 6 rounds around the Red Wings defense in their own zone before finding Verhaeghe's stick for a deflection and Verhaeghe's 5th of the season. So it was nice to see the Panthers get that 2-1 lead and build on that with an even strength goal and not just rely on their power play to win the game, but to also get that even strength goal and build some insurance after short amount of time that they've held the lead for the season. It was nice to see them get a lead and hold a lead despite Detroit's efforts. Drieger was solid. He kept the Panthers in it early on and was a big part of the reason that they won tonight. They were not ready to play, and Drieger was, thankfully, because he was essential in this victory. Special teams won them this series, no question. Cats went 4 for 7 on the power play in the 2 games against Detroit, and were 7 for 7 on the penalty kill. So they're getting it done in special teams. The penalty kill has really turned the corner. Again, Columbus and Detroit are not known as offensive juggernauts. Their power play, they're even less so than Chicago, I think, because I think Chicago has a few more weapons up front than either Columbus or Detroit. But it'll be interesting to see Columbus with Patrick Laine in their lineup. But 7 for 7 on the penalty kill. Can't ask for much more. 15 for 16 on the week. That is one hell of a week of penalty killing. 15 of 16. Very impressive. Really liking what I see. Achari's been phenomenal out there. Luo Starinen getting some ice time out there as well on the penalty kill. Coach Q's got his guys, and he's working them. And it's been great to see the turnaround because Chicago looked pretty dominant at times on the power play. So we'll see. We'll see if this works as a confidence booster and if strategies have worked out well against an offensive team. When they play the Tampa Bays or the Dallases of the division. There's not a lot of teams for me to list because of the pandemic and all things considered. But yeah, Dallas and Tampa Bay look to be the 2 other offensive juggernauts in this division. So they'll be the real tests. But so far so good. So far they've passed the early litmus tests. It's nice to see them get the 2 points. And speaking of 2 points, In the NHL, all that matters at the end of the game is getting the 2 points, as we know. So I'm going to finish off the show with just that. 2 points that we all should consider after the week that was Panthers hockey. Point number 1, the regulation point, so to speak. Jonathan Huberdeau struggles. A lot of people, from what I see on Twitter and on Instagram, lots of people have noticed his tough start to the season. Other than his first game of the season, his 3-point season debut, Huberdeau has 0 goals and is a -3 in his 5 other games this season. Now, he's put up some assists during that span, so he's not totally obsolete from the score sheet, but he doesn't seem very engaged out there. He doesn't seem that interested in the play. I think he looked better in Game 6 on Sunday night against Detroit. Earlier tonight. He looked a little more involved, looked like he was finding his legs a bit more, but I can't say he wasn't struggling, and it kind of got me thinking on Saturday night when I was watching the game. So in the second intermission, I went to pull up some stats, just out of curiosity, just from a curious standpoint. I know that Jonathan Huberdeau and Vincent Trocheck, former Florida Panther, Vincent Trocheck, now Carolina Hurricane, were really good friends off the ice. Great friends. Huberdeau was a groomsman in Trocheck's wedding. So, and I know that Trocheck leaving was very hard on Huberdeau. He did not take it very, very lightly. I mean, in terms of emotional impact, he seemed very affected by it. And that's fair. They kind of came into the league around the same time. They grew up together on the Panthers. They formed a friendship. And, a lot of times we'll forget about the personal aspects of hockey, but there are a lot of personal aspects about hockey. And you're with these people in a normal season, 10 months of the year, or 8-9 months of the year, almost every day. You see them more than your family. You go on road trips. These people become your family, and it can be easy for us as fans to forget that there are all these other elements that play into hockey and being a team and being together in a locker room. And I was curious to see statistically how the trade may have affected Huberdeau. So if you consider Huberdeau's play, Trocheck was traded on the 22nd of February on just before trade deadline day, I believe, to Carolina. And since then, Huberdeau has played 14 total regular season games, one of which was the 3-point night game he had against Chicago to start the season. Now, if we remove that game, if we remove that one game, his numbers since then are 1 goal, 5 assists, and a -6 rating in 14 games played. That is not a great stretch for a perennial point-per-game player. Now, am I cherry-picking stats? Maybe. Maybe I am cherry-picking stats to make a point on this new segment I tried to come up with for the second episode of my podcast. Maybe. Maybe I am. But I'm only removing one game from the data that I'm looking at. A game in which most people that watched it, myself included, will all agree that Huberdeau did not exactly look like a guy who got 3 points in the game. He didn't play like someone who had a 3-point night. It sort of just happened on a night when the Panthers were playing really well. Not to take anything away from him on that night or any other particular night, but I wonder if there's some food for thought in this situation where maybe Huberdeau is struggling to adjusting in the locker room without his close friend there. And that's a totally fair thing. I'm not criticizing him for it in any way. As I said, there's a lot of personal things in hockey that we don't see as fans from a distance. I hope he can find his game, and I hope he turns it around. He is a notoriously slow starter, though, so do not rake me over the coals about this. This is kind of what he does. He starts slow in terms of goals. He'll rack up some assists and not score a lot of goals. We'll probably be arguing about how great he is and if he's the greatest all-time Panther ever, which, I mean, he may already be by the end of the season. Who knows? But just what I've noticed, statistically speaking, it hasn't been a nice stretch for him, unfortunately. I hope he recovers, though. I hope he turns it around and starts putting up the points and putting the puck in the net, because Vinny Trocheck is doing just fine without him in Carolina. He's got 4 goals and 2 assists in his first 5 games of the season, so he's doing pretty well and off to a hot start for the Canes. Now, point number 2, the overtime point or the shootout point. We'll take it. A couple of those this week. I really can't end this episode without discussing the early season of Aaron Ekblad. Just the workhorse that is Aaron Ekblad, the stalwart that is Aaron Ekblad. Through the first 6 games, he's logged 155 minutes and 1 second of ice time. And that number is only that because he only played less than 21 minutes against Detroit on Sunday. But up to that point, going into tonight's game, he was ranked 4th in the NHL in time on ice at 26 minutes and 45 seconds a game. Now, having a guy like this who can play one position for almost half a game is invaluable. Think about it. Hockey is one goalie who plays the entire game, hopefully, if he doesn't get hurt or plays a great game. So he plays 60 minutes, but then the other 5 positions have to be filled by 18 guys. There are 18 guys filling 5 positions. When you have one guy of those 18 filling one position for nearly half a game, that's an asset that you can't put a price tag on. Coach Q knows what he has in Ekblad, and he's really trusted him, because if you look at the ice time of the guys around him that rank higher or just below him in time on ice per game in the NHL, it's Erik Karlsson, it's Brent Burns, it's Drew Doughty, it's Chris Letang, it's Victor Hedman. All guys that are at least 5 years his senior. Ekblad's not even 25 yet. Not even 25. And this guy logs these kinds of minutes for Coach Q and the Panthers. He's putting up offense. He's been promoted to a more substantial position on the power play, and it's paying dividends. The results are there. He looks like that number 1 pick that he was. And the Panthers have struck gold this season with Aaron Ekblad as he continues to grow and mature as a phenomenal NHL player. That's going to be it for me on Project Panthers. I'm your host, Brunswick. Thank you so much for tuning in. Cats are up next against Nashville on Thursday. There's a bit of a break between games. I think this is their longest break until May. 4 days. Cats are playing a ton of games coming up, but they'll be back-to-back against Nashville Thursday, Friday. I really, really hope we get to see those retro jerseys, those reverse retros that they released, because those are beautiful, beautiful jerseys. Should be interesting. Cats are going to start facing some more maybe higher level competition going forward. I know Columbus is a pretty good team, but neither of these teams this week, Columbus or Detroit, are known to be offensive dynamos. So we'll see how the defense holds against a team like Nashville, who can put up a little bit more offense, and later on in the season, Tampa Bay and Dallas. You can catch us on YouTube or SoundCloud at Project Panthers. You can follow us on Twitter at that's Proj Panthers. And follow us on Instagram, Project Panthers Pod. I am your host, Brunswick. Thank you so much for tuning in. Go Cats go, and have a week.